And Anna is going to admit other people.
that want to listen to this conversation in English, you go to the right side of your screen. Then you're gonna see a globe that is interpretation, and you can choose English. So we will speak in Portuguese just for the flow of the conversation, and then you can hear the translation entirely in English in the other channel. So yeah, so you can help us with the, and for those that stay here, we're gonna only speak in Portuguese, okay? And we are live on at Pipe Factory. Thank you, Simon. Ok, então eu tô
I am.
e provavelmente eu vou ter que explicar mais uma vez para as
We'll
pessoas.
need to explain it again, probably, so people will listen to the translation.
Jean, Ana Clara, Susan Hay, thank you. Ana de Sexton, thank you so much. Poppy from the Latin American Bureau, thank you so much for being here. Hello. Oh, that's so nice to see you. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Obrigada, gente.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Gente, até a Maíra Jinks entrou.
Even Maíra is here.
Hello, everyone. Hi, oi, gente. Ok, eu vou começar falando. A gente quer usar.
We would like to. You have 1 hour of conversation, and we would like to use this time the best we can. So we are here in this meeting that for me is unique because there is a long time I don't see many of these women, and I'm very much in love with them, and I'm very happy to have this opportunity to be here with them. Those are women who fight pro-Amazon in their own areas for long, long years, and they represent the diversity of this fight. I will ask that everyone mute their microphones so we can have a little bit more of understanding. And I will also ask to the translators, so we need to speak slowly so they can translate and translate the best they can. So I will start. I would like to welcome you all. I'm very happy because of this debate. We are in the last day of the 26 scope. We idealized it with many hands with Priscila Brasil, and it wouldn't be possible if it weren't the support of Ana de Donê, Renata Peppel, de Caro, and Clara Cerqueira that are translating now. And thank you very much to the Casa Ninja who advertised the event, and Priscila Brasil from Pará, who helped me with this curatorship. And she is a film producer, and she's developing a series of exclusive episodes about the occupation in Amazon. And Ayla from Amapá is a forestry engineer and has a doctorate degree in forestry and environmental sciences from the National University of Yokohama in Japan. She has more than 20 years of experience working in Amazon. Nowadays, she is a researcher from Embrapa, Amapá, and she research areas are community forest management, rural development, social biodiversity chains, and ecosystem services. Katia Brasil from Amazonas is a journalist with a career of more than 30 years. She created Amazônia Real with Laís Farias, an independent news website that aims to amplify the voices of indigenous communities and extractivist riverside, quilombola, urban, peripheric communities of Amazon. Katia Akrati from Pará is she is from the community of Gaviões da Montanha, a people whose history is directly linked to the resistance against some of the most violent extractivist projects from Amazon. people was expelled from their territory because of the hydroelectric dam of Tucuruí, and they were forced to change to another land, and they were also forced by the dictatorship from Brazil to change their original names. Kátia is the daughter of a legendary chief, Paiara, and today she tried to tell the world the history of her people's massacre. Neidinha Silvi is one of the most important leaders of the North region. She has been fighting for over 50 years for the protection of Amazon. She's the leader of NGO Tanide, and she's responsible for the defense of many indigenous communities. She's graduated in history, has a master's degree in geography, and is the geography program of Federal University of Rondônia. She is the mother of a woman who was the first one to talk in the COP, and she told us about many threats they received from the presidential actual presidency in Brazil. The Amazon is not a new thing, but uh, as the debates amplify in the North, Global South, countries of the Global South need to reinforce even more that without social and racial justice, solutions to the climate crisis are not going to be effective. The Amazon has always been a kind of laboratory to ambitious and unrealistic projects that left a legacy of devastation and social inequality in the region. Portlandia, Trans-Amazonian Highway, and Madeira-Mamoré Highway are some of the big projects implemented in the region since the beginning of the century that were never beneficial to local population. Not to talk about the construction of hydroelectric facilities that took indigenous and riverside communities away from their original places to open space to big enterprises that brought many environmental and social problems. I am a journalist born in Amapá, one of the poorest states from the north region of Brazil. And during the 60s and the 70s, it was the biggest exporter in the world of manganese. The mining company ICOME stopped its activity some years ago, and my state has one of the worst levels of social inequality in Brazil. A blackout left 100,000 people, 800,000 people without energy for 22 days, and most of the population felt abandoned by the public power and the media, national and international media. In January of this year, the international media revealed the chaos, the sanitary chaos in Manaus. The health system didn't have oxygen enough for the population, and it was needed for the artists and civil societies to help our population. And today, in the last day of COP26, we are thinking about how can we talk out about our future without listening to people from our region. We are discussing a lot about extractivism, green extractivism, or sustainable capitalism, or new project funding to projects in Amazon, which people are calling of is it possible to save the forest without the peoples from Amazon? So we are going to start this debate, and I will call Ana Eula to talk about her experience and give her opinion. Ana, it's with you. Good morning, good afternoon, good. There are people from many places in the world. I would like to say hi to Vanessa and to congratulate you for this initiative and all the people you presented, Priscila, Carol, Clara, the group who has been working to create this moment, so special moment to us. That is the moment to raise the voices of women in Amazon, some from here or some who came here and embraced their cause. And I'm very honored to be here and to be invited to this initiative in the last day of coffee and to open this debate in the company of Neidinha Surui, who is a master, a mentor of my career, professional career, since I came to Amazon. And I came to Amazon in the 90s as a teenager, in love with the rainforest. Exactly what we woke this career in me as an environmentalist, and it's the fact that Brazil was the invited, where I'm from, the Echo 92, where we first started as world politics, the environmental, sustainable environment and climate conventions and forest agreements and the climate convention. And in that moment, as an adolescent, looking towards the future, where I was going, and I thought that I wanted to help my country to develop and maintain Amazon. And in that moment, I had the vision of saving the forest. But from the moment I went to Amazon, I understood that, in fact, the matter is not of saving the forest, but working with the people who are there, who are living there within the forest, that transformed that forest with their lives, the most biodiverse forest in the country. And it wouldn't exist Amazon with that social diversity and biodiversity if the people, the indigenous people that stayed that for more than 15,000 years, and we have studies now and archaeology that the occupation of indigenous peoples happened from at least 15,000 years ago, and we wouldn't do everything without this interaction. And the indigenous peoples have a lot to teach to people in the world, how to take care and to garden and to have a relationship with this forest. And answering to your first question, it is possible to come to maintain Amazon without those people disconsidering all this accumulated knowledge. No, it is impossible. It would be it wouldn't be intelligent or rational to disconsider all of it. If we have already lost 20% of our forest, we still have 80% of Amazon, which is different from the Mata Atlântica, which that we only have 10%. But from this 80%, it is extremely degraded. And the parts that are most well taken care are the reserves, where places where people are present and they have in their ways of life a relationship with this forest, this rainforest, and people from outside trying to save, they are still pressuring with the unsustainable pattern of life. So when we talk about climate justice, in fact, this is the theme of the moment, but it is about social justice, equity, and equality in all levels. Because when we analyze the matter of climate justice, it has its intersectionality with gender, race, ethnicity. So we can't disconsider all of it, all that. So when we have an climate extreme, as we are seeing in the world, it always affects the poorest. And now in the pandemic period, we saw that the regions that suffered the most were the regions with less infrastructure, with less state apparatus. So we responded better in places where we had social cohesion to answer to all the problems. So I would like to salute Kat and to talk about the importance of communication in this process of this pandemic process. And it is important to have a good communication so we can face the all the problems related to fake news, and so we can have access to a real um, opportunity of knowing Amazon through our local speech from women who are from Amazon and have the right of access of information, impartial access to information. And this is the future of communication. And as citizens, we need to understand that how to support independent media is Amazonia Real or Media Ninja, that is here with us supporting this event. There are channels that are not uh, rendered to the capitalism, to capitalism.
A gente vai ter que seguir
Sorry, Anna, we will need to
conversa.
follow up, but we are going to keep this conversation. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are going to pass to Katia, Akratika TG. Can you hear us, Katia? Yes.
Boa tarde aí.
Good afternoon, Katia, in Marabá. Thank you very much to be here, and I'm going to let you talk about what you believe in terms of social justice and all the relationship of protecting Amazon and the discussions happening in Amazon and in the United States with your history, with your people's history. Good afternoon. My name is Katia Sileni. My name in my language is Tom Kure, and we are a people who was almost entirely killed because of an hydroelectric dam and facility, and now we are resisting as survivors of a dictatorship. And I believe that today we reflect what is happening in this crisis that is happening all around the world, this climate crisis. And I see a movie and I remember my father, and I remember my people who are still alive, and I remember a lot my father, because he used to say that man, the scientist, was given to us, and study, they told us to study a lot. And today I see that the whole world stopped to listen to us. And we think, why didn't they ask us before? They tried to shut us down, to stop us from talking. But we are here today, and we're serving as an example, and we are showing how to protect Amazon and nature without studying, only with the knowledge of that our Papam, our Ichun gave to us. And I say that today we live in a world and we are a nation inside another nation. We don't have the privilege, we are not seen as we should be seen. And I also see that in the beginning of the dictatorship, my people was massacred, and they told us we were not Christians, that our name wasn't a Christian name, and we needed to be evangelized. So I believe that society, the state, the government didn't respect our organization, our way of thinking and organizing ourselves. And today I would like to contribute from now on with everything that is happening, and that will serve as a way of thinking and of strength. Because today we are strong, we are resistant, we are holding up Amazon, we are defending our rivers, we are defending our animals' lives, our own lives. And I believe indigenous peoples from the riverside, the poor population, is the population maintaining the forest to everyone. And we were massacred. I saw my father almost being killed because of land, women being abused. I myself passed through for abuse. So, but we are here today, and I say today that I am an example, not only of faith, but I am an example to many women. Because I have the strength to show my people walking with its own feet and in our territory and teaching. And I'm always teaching my people and other communities how to see and show resistance. Because today I say that I am what I am. I have been very criticized and I suffered a lot of prejudice, and still now I still suffer it, but I'm here and I have my head high and I am an example to the whole world. And I tell women to do not give up of your dreams and fight. And we are passing through this world, and we should leave good things and plant good things and construct a new way. And I believe in the force of indigenous peoples and people from the riverside who are together with us and like you, Gabba, so we can open a new way. That's what I would like to say, and later I will cooperate more. Have a good evening.
Obrigada, Kátia.
Thank you very much, Kátia.
Eu acho que
I think
Kátia,
what Kátia says means what Kátia Brasil will tell us, because for a long time, as a journalist, my father wanted me to be a lawyer, but I decided to be a journalist in Amazon. And during a long time, to people who don't know the reality of the region, most of the medias, the reality of Amazon didn't change. The owners are the local politicians. So it is very hard to bring to the medias in general the stories like the Kacha's story with this power. If this media, our media, is controlled by local politicians who have their own interests that are linked to the agro and mining businesses, and it's very hard. And Kátia Brasil created Amazônia Real, which is a website, and I will put the link here so you can have access to it. And she created a portal, a unique portal that raises the voices and brings up the stories as Kátia's stories, so everyone can have access to know what is really happening in Amazon. So I'll pass. I'm very honored to have Casa Brasil here today. I'm a big admirer because her work is very hard. It is not easy to be a journalist in Amazon. Thank you very much, Vanessa, for the invitation. I'm very honored to be here with Anaela, Zvi, and Kátia. I will use 1 minute of my speech to protest, because I am a Black feminist woman who are against violence against women and misogyny of our Bolsonaro. And when Katia spoke, I was very emotional because I wrote lots of stories like hers and stories like Neidinha and her daughter. We can't uh, be silent. So all of us should congratulate them and clap hands to them because they're fighting against racism as well. And people, women who are in COP today and that will come back to Brazil.
Muito bom.
Mãe, gatos protestaram.
A Ângela Mendes não está aqui conosco hoje.
Angela Mendes is not here today with us, but she's Chico Mendes' daughter. She's a fantastic woman who fought a lot to survive after the assassination of her father. And I told her once, and when I came to Amazon in the 90s, I was selected to a journal from Roraima in March of 1990, when Collor, the ex-president, just assumed the country in that very controversial election when Lula was also running for presidency and Brazil was divided, polarized, as problematic as today. It is not more because of this situation of extreme right assuming the power and bringing this hatred and prejudice against poor people and minorities. And I told her that in 88 in Rio de Janeiro, where I studied, I was born in Fortaleza in Ceará, and I was raised by women, my mother and my grandma, and women in my family suffered a lot of violence. And when I was a child, I didn't understand what was it. And then I understood why they moved from one city to another so they could survive and raise their kids. And I was graduated in Rio de Janeiro, and in 78, I was part of an event and I met Chico Mendes. And he was very well known, internationally well known, and I was very touched by him, moved by him, and I got in love with Amazon from that moment. And in the end of 78, he was brutally killed, as you all know. It was a terrible crime against a defensor, and this kind of crime is still happening against activists. And I was full of love, and I came here to work as a journalist because I saw in Jornal do Brasil people who I admired, colleagues that I admired, writing about Amazon, and I decided that I would do that myself. And the last 9 months, I worked in the journal, in the newspaper of Roraima, and I didn't know who was the governor. And I started to get to know the backstage of politics, and I got sick of how they treated people, of how they treated indigenous people, and I couldn't write anything about the indigenous population because the population is completely racist. Newspapers didn't write anything about indigenous people, only to make jokes or disqualifying them. because there was already those discussions of demarcation lands. And and after my contract was over, I came back. I went back to Rio, and I went back 3 months later because of a friend. He was a correspondent of Folha de São Paulo, and a friend invited me to make part of a project for the Gazeta de Roraima, and that was a sensible newspaper that practiced is freedom of speech, and I could meet lots of lands in Roraima and tell their people's voices and give them voice as well, because the press didn't listen to them, and still now press doesn't listen to them. And this first experience that I'm telling you now, it opened space to me in many vehicles like Globo, Folha de São Paulo, for 13 years, for example, and with a lot of freedom and writing a lot and traveling the whole Amazon. Many writings were stopped to be in the newspaper because of the economical interests in the region, because the men with power and politicians and the judiciary and legislative power, they command the press. There's no other way. And this is the biggest example. Many things are not the way we talk and the way we say in the interviews, because of it, because they distort, there are distortions of what we say. And I accompanied it in many texts of colleagues that what they said wasn't really published. And in Amazon in 2013, and other colleagues, we created an independent agency so we could break this bubble from the traditional press, the corporate, mainly in the north of Brazil, where journalists have death threatened, and even editors, when they are trying to publish things that are against the economical interests of these people. So our agency was born in a very libertarian way to Democrats, so we could spread information for free, because we couldn't have an interview with Neidinha without having a way to have a democracy, to put it available for free. So, and we were using all the social medias without paying anything, in turning the content available to everyone. Today we have more than 7 million access in the website, and we are read in 180 countries, and we ask you to share our content and credit us. Because for all this time, this 8 years time, I had the opportunity to visit many territories. We stayed for, I was told that I was one of the first that went there. Maricaju was still alive. And the kids were young, and they didn't have any Facebook page, and she asked me how to do that. And after 4 years, I could get some funding, and we had the first workshop to indigenous women, and we brought them to Manaus. And the daughter of another leader came with us, and they learned how to photograph and had the first notions of about technology and identity, and so they could have their own narratives without other organizations like FUNAI or other people, they would say themselves how they want it, the way they want it. So that's the way we created the real Amazonia Real. We have lots of special texts and investigation texts, but we also need to support communication from the traditional peoples because there are a lot of our since the moment they invaded Brazil, they always wanted to talk for them, talk for you guys, and tell the way you thought. And it wasn't like that. And the church did it for centuries, and the government does it for a long time already. So we started the workshops in 2019. Now we have the Jovens Cidadãos from in our website. And the young people are telling us how they are passing through pandemic and telling their stories with the help of our editors and sending their materials through an app that we created. We didn't spend a lot of money with that, but we could pay all the young people and the journalists working with us so we can support our profession. So the way we work, we are very peaceful with that because it is a way to communicate that is very linked to citizenship because we guarantee our democracy. So if we don't have a high quality journalism that is sensitive with Amazon matters, the Amazon wouldn't be what it is today after 8 years, and we are sure of it. And I'm sure that it was my mission because I was questioning myself why I wouldn't go back to Rio because I needed to go to that region. But in 2013, when this idea was put in place, we created the agency, I thought that I had a lot of things to do and to help indigenous peoples to fight for their land, for the demarcation of their lands and the future of their family. Because if the territories are not demarcated, they won't have any future. So it doesn't matter if all the ministers in every country are reunited in an event as COPE, and if they are not listening to these people, quilombolas, riverside peoples, indigenous peoples, because they are the real guardians of the forest, and they are the first ones to feel the transformations of the climate crisis, because the deforestation provokes the climate crisis. When you destroy the territory with fire, they lose their their medicinal plants, the big trees. Children are left without water because the region is dry. The water is very bad. It's contaminated. The fish die. So they are the first one to suffer. When we are in the city, we have many possibilities of getting food because we have markets. But when the indigenous market places are in the forest, so we need to see the changes, and we have the responsibilities as well as journalists. And it doesn't mean that we are activists, and the alternative press and activists is as important as the corporative press and the independent press, but the journalists need to be aware that our country is transforming itself and has a lot of violence inside, and we can't see the light. The transformation of Amazon is enormous. It is made in a way that we have never seen in 30 years. And I think we can talk about it in other moments. And the specific journalist is writing about it every day. And he is saying that it's very big transformation is higher now because the deforestation and destruction of the rivers with the mining companies, the traffic of drugs is also involved in this. So the violence with the Yanomamis people, for example, is severe, is extreme, and people are doing nothing. And it doesn't matter if we are publishing it every day. The public power is not doing its role. So it is needed that the press tell everything. We are seeing many people telling and listening to the indigenous people, and we need it to be more and more, especially international media. Come to the Amazon, but listen, really listen to those who are really living here and surviving there. Thank you, Katja.
Thank you, Katja.
I can't even
I couldn't even like stop you
stop
because
you
so many
because it's
interesting
really
things. Thank you very much,
interesting.
Katja. Before you go ahead, pass it to Neide. In 2019, the Pastoral Commission of Land, they said that over 2,000 families were victims of the conflict, agro-conflicts in the Amazon. And 482 women suffered violence in their land. Agro-violence is serious and is caused by corporations being invading the area, and the women are the ones who suffer the most in this relationship. Neide, I want to pass it on to you so you can talk about your fight. And as I said, Neide's moms of Tishai Surui, who talked about the women in the Amazon, and Neide's daughter has been threatened by the supporters of the president of Brazil. I will refuse saying his name. So, Neide. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I don't know what time it is where you are, but it's so hard to talk after them. So thank you so much for having me. It was so hard to talk, to speak after these three women. They made me cry. The three of them know a lot about Amazon. But I want to start with the question, is it possible to save the forest without saving the people from the forest? So I'm going to start with a poem from a woman in the Amazon. So if you don't know Marcia, you should read her poems. If today, in the 21st century, you've got the forest, I grew up in this green. I've shared the shadow and the water, but then came the other and showed me the importance of the writing. I went to study in the white school to understand their reality. I understood that the culture is a river. It goes slow to the sea's arms. So there's no borders to learn, to fight, and walk. So today we're at university. We bring our place. The building of knowledge is a net that connects your city to my village. This poem is large. I just took a little bit of it. And I brought a poem from Marcia Cambeba and the image of Chai. Chai Surui when she was 3 years old. Why? Because It always annoyed me that whenever I talk about Amazon, to plan for the Amazon, whatever I built, what I've developed in the Amazon, it was never the people from the Amazon who was heard and listened. It was the outsiders. They were the ones who destroyed our habitat. They destroyed the forest, and they were the one deciding about the Amazon, for the Amazon. They're talking for us in our place, telling what we want, if we wanted a hydroelectric or not, saying that we wanted soy and we didn't want soy. We wanted and we still want to live in peace in the forest. Today, the Amazon, you don't need to cut one single tree to produce. Even the capitalists who live from profit, they've seen, I say they've seen because they use slave labor, exploitation. They exploit the producers. Even them, they don't need to cut a tree to become richer. Now, what is missing in these people, it's empathy with the Amazon. It's missing respect. When Katja said of the abuse suffered by them, it touched my soul strongly, because we are in the 21st century, going to the next century, which is coming very soon, and we see this wave of racism, misogyny, prejudice against a young indigenous woman who went to the United Nations and read a poem. If you read her speech is a poem. It is a poem that talks about that we need to listen to the river. We need to listen to the wind. We need to hear the singing of the trees. We need to listen to the indigenous people. How are you going to save the planet without listening to the indigenous people? Her speech is a peaceful speech, a loving speech, aiming to save the planet and aim to all the world leaders. And I'm going to do like you, Vanessa. That one who I'm not going to mention the name, he came from the guts. They opened the guts lid, and then with him came loads of others. Because how can you, in this role, as the highest in the country, you go and attack a woman, native, a young woman who is talking about the importance of ending empty words and lies. It needs to listen to indigenous people if you want to save the planet. For me, that makes no sense. But this is the clear representation of a country that today lives in darkness, in deep darkness, and it needs a lot of light. Chai Surui, she did something that we haven't seen for a long time. She brought happiness to the Brazilians. We were not jokes to the world. For the first time in these 3 years, in an international event, the indigenous people, they brought us happiness. And we've been giving lessons for a long time. Levante pela Vida is a lesson where the indigenous went there and fought to keep the forest alive. And to keep the forest alive, you who are listening to us, is the guarantee, is a climate balance for the whole world. To keep the Amazon is to be sure of the existence of humanity. And she went there and brought this light, this happiness. The Brazilian people in these 3 years, for the first time, we could celebrate this international meeting. And Brazil didn't become a joke, an international joke. And she brought this happiness to the Brazilian people. We are very worried about all this threatening that she's been suffering. She, aparente Munduruku, aparente Chipaya, Soninha, all indigenous women who are still there, who is there fighting. These women, these indigenous women, they're not just defending the indigenous people. Those indigenous women, they were fighting for the planet, for the life in the planet, including the life of the people who are violent towards us. That's why Kata's speech really touched people's souls, because it's been this whole life being abused. All of us women, indigenous women, black women, mixed race women, all of us been abused. We experience violence, and we need to say stop. Stop with that. We can't accept violence. What Cacha Brazil said is real. And I just thought about Amazonia Real, but it's real. The women will save the planet. We're going to save the planet. And we can't accept any sort of violence against women. No women, indigenous, black, white, mixed. If any blue woman come across from another planet, we can't accept violence against any women. We stop violence against indigenous people, and demarcation now. It's needed, it's necessary. Demarcation now. Thank you. Thank you. So we're gonna go until 6:05, because it's not fair to end without questions. Does anyone have any question? You can ask it now. Yes, no, feel free to ask questions. If not, I'm gonna pass it on to Vanessa. Nice. No, thank you so much for all this talks and speeches in solidarity with Chai and Kato, all of women who still suffering violence. Many people may not know, but I'm in Paris with National History Museum doing my PhD, and lots of people have been here before and after COP26. And today, and this week, I met the Black Coalition, and I heard lots of women, Black women, talking about and talking about racial racism, violence, climate violence, and all that is happening in Brazil right now. And it's so painful to hear. It's like Chai, lots of women are in the forefront of this fight. And who are we as people, as Brazilians, and what is the answer we can give to our people to protect them and to show that democracy exists and needs to be protected? And I just want to leave a message. Climate justice is a political fight. There's no simple answer. There's no simple answer on how it's going to be the world in 100 years time. We need to go through this dimension of, like, from the 70s, when we talk about sustainable development, we talk about human rights. We talk here in the global north, we think of technological development, and we think that the companies will bring development, but it actually can create more polarization, division. But we need inclusion. And at the end of the day, those decisions are political decisions. As researchers, as activists, we have to influence the policymakers, and we are policymakers too. And the last message to whoever works with Native people, I think the best investment is in the youth. I've met Chai at the age of 3, and she just makes us proud. She made us proud when she represented Brazilian people, the Brazilian society. I've been talking to Nadine these days that 15 years ago, I was able to help her niece dad, who were the first indigenous in Rondônia to go to university, Rubens. We got international support, international donor who helped directly indigenous community. So we said, so help these indigenous people to get into university. They need the basic, they need housing, so they are able to study. And today they are leaders, and their children, as Chai, they are speaking to the world. They're talking about the Amazon, the future of the Amazon. I'm saying that because today, when we ask what their priorities are, they say education for our children, inclusion and education for our children. And we mean internet and all the mediums that they can include them in society and be the protagonists of their own change. COP, it is important, and everything that you experience these days is important. But who is gonna build the development of the Amazon are the people from the Amazon, from each state, each town. And I think it's from there that the answers will come much better than any technologies, as they say, as the resolution of the issue. So thank you so much. A kiss, a hug to all of you. And to the men who, Anna, thank you so much. So I'm so sorry. I was saying to Shai and it's Chai. I need to learn how to pronounce names. I put a link on the chat of each one of them's work, including Priscila Brazil, who's helped me to create this series of episodes that's been telling the story of the Amazon, the occupation in the Amazon, and telling how the Amazon being occupied in it. This is such a unique material because so you can't make the same mistakes. So Anna also has a very interesting work about the açaí, talking about the green economy, talking about this is the future of the Amazon. But the young people from the Amazon, they don't have education to guide them to understand all these speech about the carbon, neutral carbon, green economy. I go back to Macapá, and the young people are still waiting for companies to have work again. But the future of the Amazon depends on these young people. So we need to show them there is this future without getting work in these companies. So we need to understand that Amazon's reality is much more complex. Katia, KTG. So I'll give the final words. I'm gonna pass it on to Katia. And then we then finish with Neidinha.
Tá ok? Então, eu só queria implementar.
I just want to say that
hoje nós estamos vivendo
today we've been living a crisis that has affected everyone, but we are building together. I see your people is looking for us, and we also worked with Massa Cambev, Edson Sirui, other leaders, the Seduki from the state. So we've been always taking part in lives with Filipino Milanese in the United States, and we're trying to find solutions. And then today the world stopped to listen to us, to give us opportunity. So I always tell my children that we do need education and leave this legacy of how to look after our house, our mothers. And today we're very worried about. So today some people from the government came to listen to me and ask what I think and want to my people. And I said, I just want one opportunity. So the electrics goes through our village. So our village is got pavement. We know that today we can't fight Vale, it's a multinational company. We need to look for knowledge and education and to study. The constitution is on the paper, but in reality it's different. So we say that today we live in a Brazil without law. So Vale can't pay for what they've done to us. So we still paid by Vale very little, but it's not enough. Brazil is so rich, very, very rich, with nuts, açaí, andiroba, all of sorts of pharmacy, natural pharmacy. We've got a green pharmacy. We've got an untouchable forest. It gives us hope and strength to fight because the whole world is seeing. You can see in the satellite where there's green, where there's forest, there's indigenous. There's people protecting. So why the word don't stop to think about us? We only want to add. We are peaceful people. We want peace. We just want opportunity. What I pass it on to my children is that they look after our moms, our grandmas, nature who taught us, and the respect we've got for nature, and the cure and the healing. Where there's cure, healing, there's hope. I hope to have a long life, because if eat products without poison, we can live long. So today we got university. We don't need to go to university. They need to come to us. We are afraid of our children to go into university, and the university will change their mindset. But here in the village is where the reality is. University from all around the world, even from Harvard University, where I'm part as a researcher, they need to leave these universities and come to see us, to get to know our knowledge that we got from our ancestors. So this is very strong, this connection. We still have Pajé. We still can resist, because during the pandemic, we kept us healthy and used our own remedies, and we're still being treated as vulnerable. But why? Because the world can't understand us. The non-indigenous society, they need to understand us. They need to learn from what we look for in the university is to amplify our knowledge and walk in parallel with it, to work together with the white knowledge. And today I work, I'm an entrepreneur. I work with the Brazilian nuts, and I have my own company, and I want to teach my children to use what we have, because other countries they want our products. So if we indigenous, we can sell and create our companies. So my dream is to have an indigenous as president, because if we have the indigenous as president, the Brazil will change. We need indigenous people occupying those spaces. I've got faith and I believe it. We're going to have a long life. But the world, and we are adding with all of you. I live my own house. I'm taking my own time. I've given my own time to add with all of you, because I do believe that our knowledge goes beyond generations. We want to help, but we also want to be helped. We want the world to see us and ask, what do you really need? Come and see our reality. We don't want only to be sucked. We want help, but a true help, for us to have more protection of our land, so we can plant in our land to to plant new trees.
No noticiário, nós plantando castanha, estamos fazendo
I'm gonna publish as planting nuts.
para esse mundo que está precisando
So this is what the world needs. We need to breathe. We need the new. We need to breathe again. We need nature. We need river to protect the trees. But we're gonna look after our land, plant it all over, giving it life to our land and to everyone who needs
melhor.
and whoever
Precisamos vender e nem
needs to
explorar
breathe.
nossa terra. Não queremos vender
We don't
madeira,
want anyone to sell
nada, nós
and
queremos
exploit our land.
limpo na nossa terra. Nós queremos
We
florestar. Queremos ajuda sim de
we
floresta.
want a new forest.
Reflorestar nossa
We need
floresta e aproveitar
we need help from the outside, but to do the work we are doing and to protect our products,
que o mundo escuta. Nós,
I want the world to listen to us,
eu como povo
indigenous,
Landateia e Mãe Maria, mas todo povo que tem a sua
all the
matéria,
indigenous people
que venha ser
that have your own
valorizado.
natural resources
É isso
to
que
be
eu
valued.
digo pro mundo inteiro.
And this is my message to the whole world. Thank you so much.
A gente vai para Cátia Brasil.
Eu estou totalmente sem palavras depois da Cátia Silene. É um prazer ouvir esse
I have no
testemunho.
words after Katja Seleni. It's an honor to have her here.
Ver que a luta é tão grande, mas ela
The
ainda
fight is so big
agora, né, nos traz
that she brings us ways of how it can be solved. Our rights are violated every day on daily basis. We just need people to want to make the change. And the universities also, it's very important that universities and students that go to university and they go through and they experience racism and even like from the gatekeeper from a university. This happens in the whole world, not only in the Amazon. Racism happens everywhere. Even for the fact of putting like a cockeye on the head or painting the face, they are target, like they experience prejudice and racism, and to the point where they don't want to go back to university anymore. I've got lots of reference from Neide. In 2013, when Amazonia House started, when people start seeing us in the media, we started to cover the conflict that happened in the area where 3 white men disappeared and died inside the indigenous land, and still today not being resolved. But that created like a racism, such a big racism that 140 people had to hide because the town's population, they all went against them. So 140 people had to go somewhere else, otherwise the whole city would go against them. The FUNAI's workers also have to go somewhere else, otherwise they would get beaten or killed. So it was a situation we seen from close. So we looked to know who has been threatened, and all those revolts happen so often, even like recently with the Mundurucum women in the association Jacaracanda, where they had their venue in fire. Every day something happens in the region, and just that, and this is because the government doesn't look at us, and also like the understanding of whoever has guns, they feel in the right to invade, to shoot, to set houses in fire, the forest, to destroy the forest at any cost. So I think this message she gives to us that I think will guide the end of this meeting. So I just want to thank and say that we are together to tell those stories with everyone's help. We won't give up, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Obrigada, Kátia. E aí, a Neidinha. E aí, a gente vai ter que terminar, infelizmente. Mas eu quero dizer que eu.
So Nate is going to be the last one, but I just want to thank everyone and just want to say that ended my week in a way that I couldn't expect. So thank you so much, Nate. What a privilege to end this meeting after listening to all these amazing women. But I just want to say that we need you. Alone, we won't be able to make it. Alone, we will be killed. Each one of us, each one of these women, we're gonna die trying to save the Amazon, trying to save the indigenous people, trying to save ourselves. So we're gonna die if you don't get help. So it's extremely important that you help us. So I'm gonna end with a poem from a friend who have passed, who I consider to be amazing. It's because I'm indigenous, man. I'm indigenous. They painted black all this floor. They've taken away Tupan and they put into Jesus because I'm indigenous. Because I'm indigenous. Cachaça, shoes, rings, t-shirt, small income, tents on the highway, an empty stomach, without the taste of freedom, and today without a past, without Tupã and Cacique, but with God and politicians. Thank you so much. I'm so honored. I hope you have answered the question. We're only gonna save the forest if we save the people from the forest. We need to protect the people from the forest. So I count with all of you to protect the people from the forest. May the spirits of the forest protect you. Thank you so much, Nadinha. Me, who was born with my enchanted. It's really good to listen to all of you. I want to thank Clara and Carol who are translating. Everyone worked as volunteer. Thank you, Simon from Pipe Factory. He gave us the opportunity to close COP26. And as you can see, there's loads of things to discuss about the complexity of the Amazon, about the inequalities, the structural inequalities, and most importantly, is decolonization of universities, decolonization of our bodies and thoughts and mind. And a while ago, we learned that the indigenous were lazy, they accepted it all, and they didn't resist. But we know that they fought, they resisted, and they confronted, and we're still doing it. And as an indigenous daughter, I really, a daughter of like a driver, and I'm so happy to have brought these voices, these women, because I was raised by women and we still This, this is like initiative from the Amazon school, and we're gonna follow up, and whoever wants to join us, please drop us a message. Thank you so much. I just want to ask, I just want to invite you all to go on Chai's Instagram and to give your support. It's really important to go to, it's really important your support anti-racist, anti-xenophobia. So Vanessa is going to put Chai's link on the chat. So you can follow her and show your love and support. So let's support Chai, who is going through a lot because after the speech she gave in the United Nations, and she is our future. She is the change, and with her, so many other women who are leading and who will lead the change we need. Thank you so much, everyone. I wish you could stay longer. Thank you. Thank you so much. And viva the women from the Amazon. Live to the Amazon.
Obrigada, gente. Nossa.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much. You take care. Bye.